guys, don't you just love that card? So we're going to make that card today. I was watching Jennifer McGuire yesterday, and she posted a video on how to make that fun fold card. I just created the fold with different products. So what you're going to need is the Amazing You stamp set to stamp this out. You're also going to need the Springtime Foils designer paper, which is free through Saleabration. So this is free with a $50 purchase. Your paper is free with a $50 purchase. So if you spend $100, you can get the 2 products today free. So we're going to take a piece of Sweet Sugar Plum cardstock. So this is 8.5 by 11. And you're just going to cut it right down the middle at 5.5. This will create 2 A2 card bases. We're going to use both of these today to make the card. So you're going to take one of these and you're going to use your scoring tool, and you're going to score it out at 2 1/8. And then you're going to take your other card and do the same thing. You're just going to score it out 2 1/8. So now you're just going to fold these right in half, and you're going to use your bone folder to give it that good crease. So once they're folded in half, you see you have the lines on your card. So you're just going to take that piece and just fold it towards the edge inward, and then you're just going to use your bone folder and just give it a good crease. So your card's going to have a flap that opens like that. You're going to do the same thing to your other card. There's your crease, and you're going to fold it towards the edge, just like so. So then what you're going to do is glue these on top of each other. So there's your card. Very simple, easy to make. You're going to want to use a strong glue. So I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Glue to glue these two together. And I'm just going to lay this out on the one card here, the one card base. Okay. Then you're just going to line these 2 cards up together. And what I like about the Tombow Mono Glue is you have a little bit of time to fix your cards and make sure that they line up before they stick together. So there's your card base. And that's how your card's going to open, just like that. So we're going to set your card base aside. So you're going to take your Springtime Foil Designer Series paper. So there's 4 different designs with this paper. So we're going to take this design here with the leaves here, and you get 3 pieces of each of the 4 designs, and on the back it's just plain. So, but it's very pretty paper. So we're going to take our leaf paper, like I said. You're going to need 2 2-inch strips. Then you're going to take the strip and cut it at 5 3/8. And you're going to have 2 pieces cut at 5 3/8. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other strip. Again, 5 3/8. So I'm going to use the Flirty Flamingo marker to color these. And all I'm going to do is take every single leaf and color them in with the Flirty Flamingo on both of these strips. So I'm going to use the brush tip to color those in. And I'm just going to stay within the lines and just color these leaves in. You could also use the ink pads with the blender pens or the aqua painters to achieve this if you don't have the marker. Now what I did was, I didn't like how bright they were, so I took a wipe. You could use a wet paper towel also. I always have wipes on hand, so I just used the wipes. And what I did was I just took the wipe and I just rubbed it over the top and took some of that color right off. And then what it did was it added the color to the white paper. So you got a nice, very light pink on your white paper, and then your leaves are a lighter shade of the Flirty Flamingo. So you can see the difference in the two here. So it makes quite a difference. So you would not be able to do this with the Stampin' Blends because they're alcohol-based markers. With the inks and the Stampin' Right markers, those are water-based. So that's why you can achieve this look. So you just want to do that to all 4 of your panels. So once your panels are all done, you just want to set them aside, and then we're going to work on the next step to the card. So then what you're going to need is a piece of Whisper White scrap paper, and you want to make sure that your layering framelits, we're going to use the oval layering framelits, and I'm using the 5th one here. So I always count down from smallest. So the smallest is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 would be this one. So I'm using this size. You want to make sure that you can get 2 of these ovals out of your scrap piece of paper. So we're going to go ahead and do some embossing on this paper. So you just want to take your Emboss Buddy, rub it over the whole top of your paper, and then you're going to stamp out 2 images of the flower in this set, this flower right here. So we're going to use our Versamark ink, and you're going to use the gold emboss powder. So you just want to stamp out 2 images. While we have our embossing stuff out, we're going to take also a piece of vellum paper, scrap piece. You're going to stamp out the flower on it. So I'm going to use my Emboss Buddy, and then you're just going to stamp out a flower, and you want to give yourself enough room around the edges because we're going to be cutting this out with one of the dies. So we're just going to add gold emboss powder to all 3 of our images. With the Stampin' Up! Heat tool, you have 2 settings, 1 and 2. Setting 2 is for embossing. Setting 1 is for when you want to dry something. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this guy here on the vellum. I use the stitch shape framelits. It's not going to cut it out completely. It's going to cut off some of the flower, but that's okay. And then for these guys, like I said, I use the oval stitch shape framelit. I use the 5th one from the smallest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's this guy right here. And then what I also did was use the 5th scalloped shaped one. So again, from the smallest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one right here. You're going to cut out 2 ovals with Flirty Flamingo. So once you have your pieces cut out, they should look like this. So your 2 pieces of flower are going to layer on top of the Flirty Flamingo scalloped oval. So now we're going to do some coloring. So this one here on the vellum, what I did was I turned it over, so you got the back side, and this is where I'm doing my coloring. So with this flower, you see that there are little edges around the outside of it. You can see the little edges. I colored those with Sweet Sugar Plum, and then this middle part here I colored with Flirty Flamingo. Again, you can use the ink with your blender pens or the aqua painters to color this. I'm going to use my markers. And I'm using the brush tip of the marker to color this. So your flower is going to look something like that. So once you turn it over, you can see how pretty it is, and then you can also see if you've missed any spots. So I chose to color it this way. For one, I really like the looks of it. It's very soft and muted this way. and for 2, it takes a long time to dry on the vellum. So the first time I did it, I colored it on the top, and when I closed my card, I had an image of the flower on there. So this way, when we glue it to the card, if the ink leaks, it's not going to matter because your flower is going to be right behind it. So that's what I chose to do. If you want it a little darker, you can take your marker and go over it again to make it darker, but I like the way that one looks. So we're going to set this aside upside down to let that dry a little bit. Then you're going to take your 2 flowers here. The only color I used on these were the Flirty Flamingo. So you can see on this one, my outside leaves are darker, but it's just Flirty Flamingo I used. What I did was I colored the whole flower, and then I colored over these guys with a second layer to give it that darkness. So you just want to go ahead and color. So as you can see, the color is all the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take and color another layer of the Flirty Flamingo on the little outsides of the flower to make it darker. Now you can see the color difference in there. It's darker around the outside edge. So that's all I did to make it look like there's 2 different colors there. Your flowers are colored. What I did was I just took a dry paper towel and I just dabbed it on the top. Because you're using the embossing powder, any marker that you colored on top of that is not going to stick. So you don't want it to go on your hands and then you're going to leave fingerprints on your card. So I just kind of just dabbed it. I didn't rub it because then you don't want to smear it over your image. So now we're just going to set these aside. And then we're going to do some more stamping. So what you need is a piece of Whisper White paper. This is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And we're going to stamp out in here, You Are Simply Amazing, and then your little sunburst here. I'm going to use the Stamp-A-Majig to make sure that my words are straight when I stamp these out. I love the Stamp-A-Majig because with the red rubber stamps, you can't tell where your U is going to be, and you don't know if you've got it crooked. It looks straight to me, but you don't know if it's crooked on your block. So wherever you stamp this, however you stamp this, that image is going to be stamped down. So what I like about this is even if it's crooked, you can align it on your paper straight. So I'm going to go ahead and use basic black to stamp this out. So I'm going to start with U. And what you want to do with your Stamp-A-Majig is put your plastic piece. There's 2 sides to this. There's a dull side and a more shiny side. You stamp on the shiny side, and you put your plastic right butt up against to your T, and then you take your block and you just line it up to your T and stamp straight down on your plastic. So there's your U. So now you can take your U and you can put it wherever you want on your paper. If you wanted it crooked, you could stamp it like this, line it up, and it'll stamp crooked. So I'm going to put my U right up here, I think, right in the top corner here. And then what you do is you just line up your plastic, remove that, ink your stamp up again, and then stamp it straight down. So now I'm going to stamp out Are Simply. Again, just butt your plastic right up, shiny side up, to your T, and then stamp straight down. See, now that's a little crooked on there. So, see how it's crooked? If you guys can see that. So if I would have stamped that down on my card, it's going to be a little crooked. So then what you do is you just take your cardstock and you figure out where you want it. And you line it up to where you want it. I think I want it right there because I'm going to put the vellum flower right up here. So, and then amazing. See, and see how perfect those are? I couldn't have stamped those free-handed that perfectly without getting them crooked. I would have absolutely got that crooked. So that's the nice thing about the Stamp-A-Majig. You'll always find a use for it. Like I said, the red rubber stamps, they're harder to see. So this is a great tool to make sure your images are straight. So the last stamp I'm going to use is the burst stamp. I'm going to call it. It looks like a sunburst. So we're going to stamp that out in Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to use the Stamp-A-Majig again, just because I want to make sure it's nice and straight. With the lighter color inks, it's a little harder to see, but you can still see it. So I'm going to stamp that out down here in the corner. Perfect. And then when you're all done, just wipe it down and then you put it away for later. So you're just going to bring in your card base, and we're going to go ahead and start to assemble the card. So you want to take your panels, and what I did with these panels is I lined them up because I cut them from the same strips, the same piece of paper. There was 2 strips. So these should line up. Like this one here is going to line up perfectly. And then this one here should line up perfectly. See how they line up together? So that's how I'm going to take these 2 that line up, and we're going to glue them to this panel here. So I'm just going to use the Tombow Mono Glue. It's what I have on hand right now. I'm just going to use that to tack these down. So your panels will look like that. You can see that they match nicely. And then you're going to go ahead and take the inside portion of your card here, and we're just going to glue that down right here, and that frames that up nicely. So then I'm going to take the vellum flower, and I'm going to use a couple of glue dots, and I'm going to put them right in the center because you're not going to be able to see that through the vellum. I wouldn't do the Tombow Mono Glue because it's a liquid, and I'm not sure if that gets on your flower, it may smear your colors. So I'm just going to do the glue dots. I like the paper piercer. It picks up those glue dots nicely. Then I'm just going to take the vellum, and I'm just going to put it right up here at the top. Right there. So that's your inside of your card. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm just going to take the flowers, and we're just going to glue them right to the top here. I've glued these to the top with my Tombow liquid glue, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's some ink smears on there. My flowers were not completely dry, so you want to make sure that you get those really dry, or else you're going to have those ink splatters there. So then what you're going to do is take your 2 oval shapes, and you're going to figure out how you want your flowers to lie on your card. You're going to take your mono liquid glue, so you're just going to put it on half of the scalloped oval here, and we want that, I want that to go up. So your glue is on this half, so you're just going to glue it to half of your card so it overlaps a little. You want to make sure all the glue is on, there's none on your bottom of your card base. See, there's no glue down there. So you glue one up at the top, and then your other one's going to go down here towards the bottom. So you want to make sure you put your glue on this half of your oval, because you want to glue them on the opposite sides. And then your glue is not on your oval. So that's it to that card. It's so cute. The only thing with this card is it will not lie flat because of the thickness of the card base and your fold. It does not lie flat, but I think it's cute that way because you can actually display it and it'll stand up nicely to be displayed. So it will mail flat, but like I said, it just won't stay flat. But I like that. I like that design. So again, the stamp set and the paper is free right now through Saleabration, which ends March 31st. So you have 3 days, guys. So if you want this, you better get on board and shop. I'm going to leave the link to my store in the video description. When you spend $50 in my shop, you can get either the paper or the stamp set for free. If you spend $100, you can get both of these products for free. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.